Hey, Mr. Henry, this is Gloria. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be going over the summer reading book, All the Pretty Horses, written by Cormac McCarthy, published in May 1992. The Fosterian elements that I will be focusing on are rain, eating, and physical scars. So the first element I will go over in detail is rain. This element can be found in Chapter 9 of the How to Read Literature Like a Professor book, and some common meanings of rain can include a spiritual awakening, a revival, or a cleansing. Rain comes up a lot in this book, but I will only dive into 2 examples. One scene with rain took place on page 71 where John Grady, Rollins, and Blevins were riding out as a storm approached. McCarthy described the rain with a violent mood with words like phantom migration and rain coming down in sheets as the ground shuddered. The turbulence of the storm revealed that all 3 characters were in it together, and it forced them to work together. Because each character had to face the storm equally, this suggests that hardships are faced by every individual regardless. The storm could also represent the emotional turmoil that the 3 must have with existential doubt and feelings of emptiness. In addition, another rain scene can be found on page 216, the morning after Rollins and John Grady posed existential thoughts. John Grady also had feelings of regret and bewilderment over killing someone. Although he had no choice and was protecting himself, he still felt conflicted and troubled. Thus, the rain acted as a cleansing from the past experience so that he could live the next day with a new understanding of himself without looking back. Next, we will move on to eating scenes, or communion. On page 73, Rollins, John Grady, and Blevins pull up to a place in the morning and ask the Mexicans there for food. A couple of them gestured toward the fire with their spoons, and they casually provided food for them. This was a relaxing scene because everyone was laid back and smoking. Sharing a meal symbolized peace between the Mexicans and the American characters. A similar scene takes place on page 95 when John Grady and Rollins return to the place that they were staying after working for the Vaqueros. Everyone was already eating, and when they arrived, they all helped themselves to the Mexican food that the kids made. This shows unity between the Mexicans and the Americans, and also between adults and kids, since everyone was involved with either the cooking or the eating. So now I will discuss physical scars or physical marks, which is found in chapter 21 of Foster's book titled Marked for Greatness. In general, physical marks can symbolize moral, spiritual, psychological, or empty imperfections. They usually have to do with one's past and shapes who they are or how they view reality in the present. 2 examples of physical marks in All the Pretty Horses are found on Alfonso and Rollins. On Alfonso, they are on the last 2 fingers of her left hand. She mentioned that she lost her fingers in a shooting accident at a young age, and that it was only natural. Alfonso noted, "Scars have the strange power to remind us that our past is real. The events that cause them can never be forgotten, can they?" And the other scar is on Rollins' face after fighting on page 217. The memories of the chaotic fight he had earlier that almost killed him will always remain with him in that scar. In the end, all these elements and All the Pretty Horses point to redemption and how they learn from their past mistakes or their past trauma and how they can learn to cope with it and move on to face their tomorrows and their future in general. So that's what I got out of this book, and I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast. Thanks, Mr. Henry.